Hey there, I'm Stephan Kesting, and this is the Grapple Arts Radio Podcast.
All right, so let's go back in time to 1997. I'd been doing some judo. I'd been doing some shoot wrestling. I'd been trying to reverse engineer Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then I heard that there was, wait for it, a blue belt in town. There was a blue belt. In fact, he wasn't even in town. He'd come to town sometimes. Blue belts were such a rare commodity that once a week he would jump on a ferry. He would drive for half an hour, take an hour and a half ferry, then an hour drive to teach in the town that I was in a couple of classes and then go home. And that was the guy that I started my formal Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training with, Pshemek Drabczynski. Hello, Pshemek.
Hi, Stefan.
Yeah. So Pshemek is now based out of Irvine, California. He runs a very successful personal training business. But we're going to start with the Jiu-Jitsu because that is where we met. That's how we met. Yes. Isn't it funny that, like, actually, you might be the longest serving blue belt. It's either you or Eric Paulson, who are blue belt for like 15 years, just because of
one of us.
Yeah. Falling between the cracks of the promotional system.
Yeah.
But you are now a black belt. You have been for a few years.
Yes. So. No, actually, since September.
Really?
Yeah. Since September 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was a very long journey from white to black.
Yes.
And you were training for a lot of that. Anyhow. But isn't it funny how much power a blue belt had back in the mid-90s?
Amazing. It had all amazing power. Plus, important thing to mention is that blue belts, in that matter, supposed to possess the at least the fundamental skills. Mm-hmm. And then even today, all the black belts, high-level black belts, like Masio Fatosa, he all the time reminds how important it is to master all the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there aren't very many people going. I mean, I suppose there are some people who teach super fancy stuff to beginners, but most people are always saying, it's the fundamentals, stupid.
Yes.
So it shows you the power of those fundamentals that with a blue, I mean, you had, to be fair, you weren't just a jiu-jitsu guy at that point. You were already a world champion in kickboxing.
North American champion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
WKA.
I've inflated that in my mind.
Yeah.
Champion of the universe.
No. I wish.
Yeah, let's give bigger and bigger titles. But who did you start your jiu-jitsu with?
I started with Carlson Gracie in...
Carlson Gracie Sr.
Carlson Gracie Sr. And at that time, the two instructors there was actually Marcelo Melo and Vitor Berfold, believe it or not. I met him as a young kid who just came from Brazil, and maybe he was 17 years old. And funny thing is, one of my first forced one-on-one classes, because it was one-on-one because nobody else showed up, just me. Me and Vitor Belfort, it was on one-on-one classes, so that was kind of good. He was teaching me armbar, I still remember to this day. Same way he got armbar on John Jones.
Okay. Anyway. What was that about the basics working again?
Yeah, the basics. Yeah, they work. Yeah, like if you look at the UFC and MMA fights, I mean, you're really looking at maybe 35 to 40 moves that really work.
Mm. So, just for fun, what are some of those moves? Like, you don't have them written down. You don't have them, but what are they, in your opinion?
Well, learning, for example, maybe not so much scissor guard works in UFC, but scissor guard as a shield for the striking. And then, talking about all the variations of back sweep, placing feet on the hips. Like we used to do for balloon sweep, you can go to the back sweep. Controlling the hips when the opponent is standing is crucial in controlling the punching when he's standing. And that's where he obtains the most power, because you can direct punches vertically down. That's what reigns like
strength and gravity.
Those are the sledgehammers.
Right.
And then, keeping a high guard, just the basic fundamental thing. You keep that high guard, which you can see, like, for example, guys like Eddie Bravo took it to the next level, developing rubber guard and all that. But keeping
I'm trying so hard not to make a joke about a high guard. Did everyone? Anyhow.
Yeah. So, basic back sweeps, basic lumberjack sweep reversals, they always work. Just working legs in a bicycle type of motion. these are the old school self-defense plus technical lifts, basic technical get up from the ground. These are the important things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you're doing a lot of personal training now. You're not doing very much. I mean, you're training jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
We just met up at Gracie Baja here in Irvine, but you're not teaching that a lot one-on-one, are you?
Yeah, I have a client who does MMA, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing with me.
Okay.
So we kind of blend all the three.
Okay.
And he's fairly advanced. He's brown belt under Alan Goes. So yeah, it's
okay.
We have pretty advanced training there.
So you do include it in your teaching?
Yes, yes. But most of my clients are basically people in need of getting some type of functional training to strengthen body in general terms, strengthen the core, cure the lower back. And I'm not necessarily young. I train kids of all ages, but most of my clients are in their 40s, even 50s.
Okay. So you've been around the jiu-jitsu game, you've been around the kickboxing game, and you've been around the strength and conditioning game.
Yes.
So what are some sort of guiding principles? If I'm doing jiu-jitsu and I'm gassing out, or I realize I could be a bit stronger or I could be a bit more resistant to injury, where should I be starting and what should I be thinking of? Should I immediately go join a CrossFit gym? Should I immediately start powerlifting?
Not so sure about CrossFit gym, since there's a lot of people getting injured, even seriously injured, trying to, push the limits. It's not all about make it or break it. I would rather direct my attention to, there's new movement. One of them is, for example, Move Naturally. This pretty much copies the movements that we're doing for warm-up in jiu-jitsu, a lot of crab walking, shrimping, alligator walks,
sort
alligator
of
crawls.
Gymnastica Natural stuff?
Yes, Gymnastica Natural from Professor Alvaro, right? He started that, and even guys like Hickson, and they were using this for their training. So basically, you kind of move a little bit in an animalistic style. In funny, because in Brazil, not in Brazil, but in New Zealand and Australia, they call it zoo.
Oh, really?
So you basically do zoo, which is you copy the animal movements. I find this to be the best conditioning for strictly jiu-jitsu. If you're in an MMA game, in kickboxing, and you need a little bit more edge on the explosiveness, yes, the CrossFit or the Olympic weightlifting, explosive deadlifts, squats, cleans, they will help you in that matter.
So somebody was arguing the other day that, say you do a lot of jiu-jitsu, you're pulling all the time, especially with a gi. You're grabbing and you're pulling. So they were arguing that jiu-jitsu guys are chronically over-pulled and under-pushed. So now they're getting muscular imbalances. So on the one hand...
I'm sorry to cut in, but I would disagree. Okay, you pulling, but now your partner in a guard, what is he doing? Posturing. Oh. Posturing works the pushing muscles.
Okay.
And I remember, when you get a guy to roll with who's got incredibly strong and powerful close guard, and you get caught in that close guard, you didn't make the kneecap, you didn't manage, he closes it up on you and he starts pulling. Man, your triceps, your shoulders, all the pressing muscles are frayed up.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So you're going to argue that jiu-jitsu is a whole body exercise.
Absolutely, whole body, and the pushing and pulling muscles work equally. Equally.
Okay, that's a good counter argument, because I was just trying to work my way to an answer to this. Because on the one hand, you've got people who are claiming we're going to do conditioning specifically for your sport, and then there's another camp of people saying if you do a sport, now we need to do conditioning to sort of counteract the effects of that sport. So, is there a danger of getting overdeveloped in certain areas with a specific sport?
Yes, I agree. I'm more for a balanced type of workout. So the best approach is to basically work in your conditioning opposing muscle groups. So for example, if you do a lot of just conditioning for jiu-jitsu, say that we do monkey runs or crab walks, which would be recruiting more of a pushing muscles, because you stay in a suspended position, I would add some climbing to it. Say rope climbing. I think rope climbing, or obviously if you find a good tree, you can do the tree climbing. Pull-ups,
right,
for example, always good. Gi pull-ups, row pull-ups, grip pull-ups. Battling ropes are great because they develop grip and then wavy type of movement in the arms and the shoulders that is used by wrestlers and fighters. Yeah.
Yeah, so recently something I've been doing a lot is just alternating pull-ups and dips.
Yeah.
Or pull-ups and push-ups. And that, you know, in that, maybe bodybuilders, if you're trying to go that intense, then you have, you know, anterior deltoid morning. And in the afternoon to work your posterior deltoid or something. But in general, if you have a life, if you're not a bodybuilder, and especially if you're doing a sport, you don't have time to split your body down into different muscle groups to that level. Yeah,
no, there is not enough time in a day. I mean, unless you really have the luxury. Right now, the fitness, the trend in fitness is all about functional training. It's all about integration rather than isolation. I mean, we grew up, say, in the 80s, 90s. There was still, the bodybuilding was still heavy on the market.
Schwarzenegger ruined it for all of us.
Exactly. Do some curls, But the thing is, integrating muscles is always better to do large muscle groups than just isolating them and do those small muscle groups. The small muscle groups will develop with exercises like pull-ups, deadlifts, and of course, basic push-ups. You can never overrate it.
Right. So I guess maybe the only couple of exceptions I can think of there is if you're a bodybuilder. If it really matters how you're
this is your sport. You have to train in your sport to be good in your sport. Yeah. There's no other way around.
But if you're not a bodybuilder, there's probably not that reason to do 12 different kinds of curls?
No, absolutely not. And then funny thing is, I was just reading a newsletter from American Council on Exercise. The fatigue sets not necessarily work very well. You know, like when they do the drop down set, you know, like you say you do curls, you do 5 sets and then you're burning it off and then you do the last set, drop weight, whatever, 10 pounds and do the burn up set. Not necessarily is a good thing for the muscles.
Not even for hypertrophy or like what?
Yes, to hypertrophy to a certain degree, but sometimes muscles need, a little bit more rest to recuperate better. If you completely fatigue them, they so broken down that they almost cannot, like look at the farmers. Like for example, that's a good point. Why farmer boys are so strong, whether they start martial art, hockey, football, they are known to be the toughest guys come from the plains. And why? There's a work ethics. They subject their bodies, not in a crazy way, but in a lengthy,
steady way.
Repetitive, steady way, and they do not 50 repetitions, they do 5 repetitions, but they separate these 5 repetitions, in a different, it's also spread out throughout the day, that they constantly subject the body into those 5 repetitions of, say, throwing a hay in a truck. But they don't do it only throwing the hay to the truck, they do different functions, you know, farmer walk, carry milk from the cows, that kind of stuff. It all accumulates to that all-day activity that builds that incredible strength they have.
Clearly, I think people need to hire you to follow them around all day long at $400 an hour and then just give them every 15 minutes, give them another task and then they go back. I think this would be
main thing I would say is that our lifestyle are so right now sedentary. Yes. I mean, development of all the technology. We can order food. We don't even have to go grocery shopping. We order everything online and lots of people fall for it. It's a death trap. Yeah. In my opinion.
Well, they say sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't smoke, but I'm guilty of the sitting.
Yep.
You know, I was talking about with a friend, I used to have terrible lower back pain. That's got cured years ago, thank God. But, I did a long drive to go on a canoe trip and the drive was like an 18-hour drive straight north. And by the end of it, I could barely stand. My back was in such pain. Coming back, we blew a radiator. So every 45 minutes, I had to get out, fill the radiator with a jug of water. Yeah. And just getting up off my ass every 45 minutes to fill the radiator. By the time, after the end of the 18 hours, it was like 18 hours. It was like 19 hours, right? With an extra hour of getting out to fill the radiator. I felt fine. Like it just getting nothing.
Changing the body position. Yes. So being aware throughout the whole day about your body positioning. So if you drive for a long time, sometimes it's good to pull over, just go to whatever gas station. Even if you just get up and do a couple light stretches, idea is to get up at least once in half an hour. This is what they recommend right now. I mean, from scientific point of view, because the blood is not pooling. See, when we sit and we don't move, the blood is pooling. That's not good. And then the older we get is more becoming actually dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the seatbelt sign is fastened now. Please stay in your seats for the next 4 hours.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you can do on a plane. Maybe they have stand-up desks.
Japanese airlines have a gymnastic in the middle of the...
No way, really?
Yeah, I remember when I flown that, my only trip to Japan.
Yeah.
Not so. Anyway, in the middle of the flight, after 4 hours, everybody get up, and people stand up and they do the gymnastic in the middle of a flight. Japan Airlines.
Like a lead stretching
just
set?
bent over, move head, move shoulders, just like you would be warming up. Light warm-up, mobility warm-up.
I thought you meant like they had a gym in the middle of the flight. Like
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
With turbulence, right?
Yeah, yeah. What could possibly go wrong in the middle of a Turkish get-up?
Get a dumbbell in the head. Turkish get-up.
That's a real master of body stability. 70-kilo Turkish get-up in the middle of major turbulence. It could be a thing. I mean, wasn't like paddleboard Pilates or paddleboard yoga was a thing for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Maybe like turbulence flight simulation training. You'd have to have your special room. Yeah. I'm just trying to find the next big thing here for you.
For me, I think, my path right now is I'm definitely helping people to live better, fuller life, to eat better, and to try to understand their own bodies and physiology. And I think that's the main thing.
What are the big tweaks? What are the tweaks that you make again and again and again to people's eating? Like, what is the mistake that the majority of people make there for food?
Well, definitely overeating on the carbs and sugar. I mean, these are the two worst things. Mm-hmm. I like the caveman type of diet, paleo. But when I see paleo cookies, I mean, come on, give me a break. I've seen somebody's marketing paleo cookies.
Yeah.
No, there was no paleo cookies. Paleo bone with marrow to suck on. Yes. So idea is to eat high fruit, high veggie, high protein, high healthy fat diet, and very low or eliminate the sugar completely. Sugar is a big cancer feeder. Eliminate sugar and eliminate carbs, if not completely, to the bigger degree. And you'll see the difference.
What do you think about the intermittent fasting or periodic fasting?
Absolutely agree. It's a great way. We were, back in the day, we didn't have a successful hunt every day. There will be a few days that we'll have to either go on berries or something just to sustain life. And then we have this meat feast when successful hunt or fishing.
Drive the woolly mammoth.
Exactly.
Off the cliff,
Yeah. So we were designed to go long periods of time actually without the food. Intermittent fasting, absolutely yes.
Okay. And it's also, you said that thing about sugar being a cancer feeder. There's some evidence, I believe, showing that fasting, can kill the little tiny cancers early in their development.
Yes.
Because they feed off sugar.
It might even reverse the cancer. I mean, there's a lot of evidence, and one of them being that struck me was that there was this woman and she was going to the hospital for cancer treatment. She was living in a very rural area, and what happened, she had the cancer develop already at a certain point. I forgot what was it, ovarian or something. The car flipped over. She went into an accident. Car rolled over from the road. She got stuck pretty much in the woods. The only lucky thing she had broken legs. She got immobilized. For 2 weeks, she was in the car below the road, very rural area, and she had only water. She survived on water. So they taken her to hospital. After those 2 weeks, the cancer went to remission. Because she starved the body, what happens? The healthy cells eat the sick cells, and the cancer cells are sick cells. So on cellular level, that would be the explanation.
We should probably, ideally, she would have done this under doctor's supervision.
Yeah.
If you're driving down the road right now and there's a nice deep ditch.
That's right.
Don't roll the car.
Yeah, don't roll cars over. No, don't get trapped. No. But that was the thing that actually...
it's a good story.
Yeah, it's a pretty good story, yeah.
And there's research. I mean, I'm listening to some of Rhonda Patrick's stuff, And she talks a lot about the intermittent fasting.
Interesting thing from our friend Gord McKinnon.
Okay, just for the people who don't know, Gord was probably the best athlete I've ever met.
Yeah, the best athlete, two-time CrossFit champion winner in Masters.
Yeah.
2011, 2000.
Olympic level wrestler.
Absolute
insane.
machine,
Yeah.
the Gordon machine. And so Gord, his friend, his hunting partner from Canada, he had the prostate cancer in progress. So Gord told him, hey, you gotta drop the sugar. So he started to drink the black coffee, no sugar, just this. He went for cancer treatment, for cancer reevaluation, and to the doctor, same thing. The cancer went to remission. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And that's his close friend. And Gord, he does not.
To be fair, Gord also sent me down some major paths, like talking about some supplement that he got his entire rugby team on.
Oh yeah.
Was it dimethylethylamine, something like that?
Oh my God.
I went and searched for it, and I found like the one remaining bodybuilding shop in town that still sold it, because it had all been debunked 15 years ago. So, to be fair, he also said, Gord, if you're listening, you had a lot of good ideas and a few terrible ideas, but the key to having good ideas is to have lots of ideas. And
I've learned a lot from Gord, and that would include, for example, having bee pollen in the morning. And this is great, makes me feel good, has a lot of antioxidants.
Probably no negative side effects.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I do myself and my wife, and it's helping out a lot with beginning of arthritic pains and everything, coconut oil, have a tablespoon in the morning, tablespoon at night, and turmeric, ginger, all those things are really good cleansers. Also, organic apple cider with lemon. These are the fantastic cleansers and anti-inflammatories.
So, the cool thing is that you and I met doing jiu-jitsu. And here we are, 20 years later, and we're still both doing jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
So, I think that's really cool. I think there are not a lot of sports that people start in their 20s or in their teens that they can be doing 20, 30, 40 years later.
Yes.
So, from a long-term perspective, having trained jiu-jitsu for all these years, what would you suggest to people who are thinking about starting out just now?
I think jiu-jitsu is probably the safest realistic martial art you can do. That definitely is the point.
And that's coming from a world champion, North American champion kickboxing guy.
Yeah. Because you can do kickboxing. I can do kickboxing playfully, but I cannot go and do same type of intensity training that I did before. I would probably get my legs broken or something. Yeah. And in jiu-jitsu, we can accommodate the intensity, the energy. Of course, in jiu-jitsu, yes, on the mat, you're going to come across the guys that are crazy strong or something. You have to use your wits to calm the guy down, let him know that you're not there to wipe the mat with him. It's a learning experience, whatever. Especially now being black belt, we have a big target on our back, right? Yeah. Hey, black belt, yes. Let's see if I can get lucky, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, it's the attitude you carry.
What do you mean you're not allowed to use heel hooks when you're rolling in the gi?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's all about the mood that is set not only by instructor, but also by the persons who you're training with. So, I think so far, this served me well. That's why I'm still here. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people, of course, we want to let ego stay outside the dojo. And that's another important thing.
Yeah. Well, it's maybe a mistake that everybody needs to make is not tapping soon enough. Because after you don't tap soon enough and you get injured a few times, you start learning that tapping soon enough is a really good idea.
Exactly.
But, so hopefully that injury that you get from the first couple aren't that major.
Yeah. And jiu-jitsu has changed now. It's not 20 years ago when
we were all pretty much convinced that we were going to be fighting for our lives and the honor of jiu-jitsu at any moment.
Yeah. Right now, jiu-jitsu has been very popular martial arts. And then, you can see how many, especially in Southern California, there's so many gyms. And it's becoming very popular. It's like a second, I would say, it'll be as successful as Taekwondo, if not more. For the martial art that is we have a phenomenal kids program here at the Gracie Baja. And jiu-jitsu is the safest martial art that can be done realistically.
Right. Well, I don't think there's a better way to finish it. You've got to go off to class and train.
That's right.
I've got to run up and talk to a guy about a thing. That sounds pretty mysterious, doesn't it? Believe it that way. Gotta go talk to a guy about a thing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Thank you, Stephan.
Thank you for introducing me to. Oh, before we go, how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, my website is besthometrainer.com.
Besthometrainer.com.
That's it.
It's got all your contact information.
Yes, and I am based in Orange County. You'll find my contact information. My email is pshemek66@gmail.com.
You better spell that for people.
PSHEMEK 66@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah. And honestly, people, I can vouch. There aren't very many people in this world I can vouch for unequivocally, but Pshemek is one of them. Fantastic guy. Very, very knowledgeable. And if you're looking for a home trainer, if you're looking for some guidance in fitness and martial arts, I can't think of a better guy. He set me, you had a huge influence on me, despite the fact you were just a blue belt all those years ago.
Likewise, Stephan, I've learned a lot from you, and I've learned a lot of advanced stuff and leg locks and everything. Yeah. It serves me well.
Okay, well, since you're singing my praises, I'm going to choose right now to end the podcast. Thanks.
That's right.
Podcast listeners, there's a pretty good chance that you're listening to this on your smartphone, right? You're walking around, you got your smartphone in your pocket, you got your earbuds in, you're listening. If you've got a smartphone and you do jiu-jitsu, then you should check out my free Roadmap for BJJ app. This is a video-based app. It's an app that goes on your phone. You can check out the different sections. It's got different techniques. It's got different positions. And it breaks down the big picture of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for you so that you're not going to be so lost on the ground when you're training. So you're going to know kind of sort of what you should be doing in every position, along with the specific techniques that you should be using. So if you go to grapplearts.com/roadmap, there'll be links there to get this app for free, both in the iTunes store, if you've got an iPhone, or in the Android store, if you've got an Android phone. There's also Kindle versions of it out there as well. Once again, you can grab that at grapplearts.com/roadmap. That'll point you in all the right directions to get this app, whatever kind of phone you have.